everyone. I wanted to do a short video for you all, just for help, support, guidance for your mindset towards moving from a non-calorie counting world for you to be able to make choices depending on how you feel rather than for numbers. And this will be a true learning point for your healing with your relationship towards food and your fullness levels and getting satiety from your actual meals that you eat rather than thinking I wasn't satisfied. So quick fire. And again, if you've got any questions, you can always drop me a message. I've got them written down because I didn't want to miss any. So I'm just going to reel them off. And if you've got any questions at the end, just drop me a message. So I want you to think about each day as its own. I want you to think about being flexible and prepared for that day. We all live super busy lives. So what works for Monday might not work for Tuesday, depending on your schedule. So be prepared for the day to look different. Okay. So that might be that you have different meals that day. Not every day needs to be structured. You need to have enjoyment. You might need to have different meal times on different days. Sometimes you might be super busy and you might need to bring the meals forward and preload the food rather than going extreme long periods of time and letting your blood sugar levels go really low and then eating super fast pace once you get to sit down and actually have a meal. So think about being prepared for the day, and every day can look totally different. Now, don't fear hunger. Sometimes hunger is okay to be an emotion. And I think we forget about this. It's okay to sit in a hungry mode. You're not actually starving or wasting away. If it is the case for you to feel a little bit of hunger, you know that food will eventually come. It might be that you've had a long trip or a long drive and you're coming home and you're ravenous and you're thinking, I'm super hungry, I've skipped a meal, and you go into that meal and you overeat, overindulge. Actually say it's okay. Being hungry is okay to feel that emotion. If we felt full all the time, we've got to have that rise and fall. We don't want to, become into a starvation zone, because then we do make choices that we're not happy with. But actually get into a meal and thinking, I am enjoying this meal because it's arrived at the right time. It's something that we should be really grateful for. We've got food on the table, we've got food in the cupboards, all those things which, some people don't have. So you need to bring that mindfulness and that allowance of hunger is a feeling, and we are allowed to experience it. Now, I will also want you to think about your protein sources. So when you are thinking about your day, so it might be the following day, think about what 4-5 protein sources that you're going to have that day. So it might look like eggs for breakfast, yogurt for mid-morning snack, chicken for lunch, and then your it might be mince or tofu or whatever your preference is in the evening. So you've got your protein sources. Then pair that with carbs and fats and fiber for what you want your meals to look like. One of the key tips is to have your proteins already made in the fridge. So when we think about batch cooking, we don't have to have everything already made in little Tupperware. You could just have your chicken already batch cooked. You could just have your mince already in the freezer, and then one day you can have it with rice, one day you can have it with sweet potato, whatever that looks like for you. But the protein is the biggest one that takes the longest to cook. So the other bits, the fats and the carbs, we can just sling it on, and then we've got that meal ready and prepared in a shorter amount of time, because I know that we all live fast-paced lives. So definitely protein. Think about, if you're not wanting to track but you want to get your nutrition in, the day before I'd think in my head, what 4 to 5 portions of protein are we going to have that day? And when I say 4 to 5, I mean If you've got a good sized portion of a steak for your evening meal, then you'll only need 4 portions of protein that day, because that's going to give you a good 50 gram of protein maybe. But if you have a smaller maybe fish dish in the evening, you're going to maybe need a yogurt or something else to balance that protein intake coming through. So that's a great way, and have your protein ideally ready made in the fridge for like maybe 2-3 days. And then you can just add different carbs, fats, and fiber to that to get creative. So one day you might want to have feta cheese, the other day you might want to have hummus, and you can change that up. Super, super simple. Satisfy your cravings early. So this is one that I definitely learned really, really, harshly in my journey, is if you've got a craving and it's in the morning and you're thinking, oh, it might be a chocolate craving, or it might be whatever that looks like, address that craving in the morning, because if you don't, then you're going to go all about the day, and then you're going to eat it in abundance in the evening or at dinner time. You're going to eat it in abundance. Whereas if you have it when you want it, when the craving comes, you'll eat it in a mindful state, and you'll be like, oh, I just fancy this. If you say, no, 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 I'm not having it, but then you eat all the rest of your food that you planned for the day, but you've still got that craving, you're going to eat it in a guilty, less mindful way, and probably use an indulgent mindset. So if you wake up and you fancy something, then have it, eat it, enjoy it with a cup of tea or coffee, whatever that looks like, and get that craving gone. It might even be like a main meal. Like it might be that you really fancy I don't know, that you really fancy a pizza, bring it forward, and make smarter choices and have it for a lunch, rather than leaving it all and going, oh, no, 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 I'm not having anything, I'll just have a light lunch, because you'll go into that evening meal ravenous and eat it really fast paced and end up with some problems maybe in your gut. So we want to keep that gut and the mind happy and balanced. Another thing when we're always living at fast-paced life is have ready-made meals in the fridge. So I always have like a possible overnight oats, or a really boring like but substantial meal. So it might just be chicken, vegetables, and pasta or rice, sweet potato. Something that if I'm absolutely ravenous, instead of having 5-6 biscuits, this and that, a rice cake, a here, there, everywhere, I have a wholesome meal. You could have 4 biscuits out the cupboard, which is 400 calories, not scratch the surface on your fullness levels, where you could go to the fridge and have your ready-made boring meal, but it's gonna satiate you, and it's gonna give you your energy, your fuel, your nutrition. If you do want to have 1 biscuit afterwards because you really fancied it, then that is okay. You can have it, but you're not going to get that extreme blood sugar spike. You're not going to then get the crash, and you're not going to feel the guilt. So make mindful choices and always have a ready-made meal in the fridge or the freezer. And sometimes you can get real good quality ones from the supermarket. They can do, I think, Gym Kitchen and things like that. They do really good, wholesome ingredients in a ready-made meal that's like, a good amount of protein, carbs, and fats to give you what you need when you're absolutely ravenous. Because a lot of the time we will eat those foods if they're there and ready-made, but we go for those quick fix options when we're mindlessly snacking because we're so, so hungry. I also want you to think about shifting your focus of if you're in like a boredom state. So you're actually full and you're not obviously tracking your calories because you have a flexible approach, but you still want to achieve your goals of giving your body what it needs, and maybe a composition goal. So when you're mindlessly snacking, bring yourself into that point and say, what does my body and mind actually need? Most of the time it's sleep because we're tired. So, right, okay, how am I going to change the way I feel in that moment. So it might be that you're looking for energy from somewhere because you're really, really tired. It might actually be that you need a walk to get the blood going around the body to give you that surge of energy. It might be that you just need to go read a few chapters of your book. It might be that you need to go do a job that's really procrastinating in your mind. Sometimes we eat for procrastination. Sometimes we just need to be still. So when you're in that snacking for mindless boredom, procrastination, or whatever that is, you need to maybe ring a friend or get a different emotion that fills that gap rather than filling the gap with food. That's a really, really hard thing to do, but it takes time and effort to be able to achieve that. And you've got to work towards that. You've got to practice. You've got to reflect. You've got to see how your mind, what results came from making a change. Now, addressing emotional eating. Now, it's going to be different for everyone, but again, what we've just said, sometimes it's the environment. If you always eat in a chair or that sofa or that dining table, remove yourself once you're full and go to a different space, especially for people that maybe live in apartments in London and things like that. I've got a few ladies that don't have that much space to maneuver yourself in, so try and think of different spots where you're going to allocate. Also, as well, emotional eating. What is that emotion that you're feeling? Why are you trying to use an avoidance? What might even be for happiness. But again, hand on your tummy. What is that emotion that we're feeling? And just bringing yourself back to basics here of just what do I feel and what does my body need? And it sounds really hard, but once you practice it, it'll become so much more easier. And it might be that you've got like a bit of a bad taste in your mouth and you keep eating the same stinky crisps because they're just there in front of you. Actually, you might need to eat an apple. We might just need to go brush your teeth. There's super, super simple things that can break these habits so easily. Now, the last one is challenging yourself. If you want different results to what you've ever had, you've got to challenge yourself and do something totally different to what you've ever done. So challenge your mind, ask yourself, if my actions right now continue, am I going to achieve my goal of what I want to achieve? If the answer is no, then we need to change the action. If the answer is yes, then we continue, but we do it mindfully, and we might ask ourselves the same question in 2 minutes' time, like, okay, I've continued eating. That was fine. I was happy with that. Do I need to have any more? Okay, I'm getting a little bit full now. I'll put my knife and fork down. Remember, it takes a good 15-20 minutes for your body to digest that food. So fullness sometimes comes later. So slow that eating process down, but we'll talk about that in another video. So I hope they helped you. And maybe want to re-watch it with a notepad and pen and write it down, or you may got some questions for me. And I've got these written down on a PDF to send out to you if you want them. So you can just drop me a message. But yeah, hope you all have a lovely day.